Hello, everyone. You're very welcome, all of you who come to participate with us in our webinar that we have here this afternoon. My name is Sister Helen Alford. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences here at the Angelicum. We exist because Pope Pius XII came to ask the university in the early 1950s to start teaching courses about modern social problems. And so we started teaching courses. The faculty was founded about 50 years ago now. And one of the big issues we have to deal with today, and one of the big problems and issues is uh, um, artificial intelligence. So that's why we have our webinar today, and looking forward to our conference, which we'll talk about at the end, which will take place on the 7th of May. I'd like to start in introducing this session with a quote from the document which the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith recently produced under the title Antiqua et Nova on artificial intelligence, because it makes direct reference to the common good. And I quote, they say, the use of artificial intelligence, as Pope Francis said, must be accompanied by an ethic inspired by a vision of the common good. So the use of AI must be accompanied by an ethic inspired by the vision of the common good. And then it carries on. An ethic of freedom, responsibility, and fraternity, capable of fostering the full development of people in relation to others and to the whole of creation. And in that quote, they're actually quoting from Pope Francis, who gave an address in 2019 under the title The Common Good and the Digital Age. So our topic, AI and the common good, is something which is quite central now to the way the church and also other people are thinking about the question of AI. If we want to start in thinking about this question, I think a pretty good place to start is to ask the question, what is AI for? What is its purpose? Why are we developing AI? And what should we do? And what should it do? Now, in order to approach this question properly, AI and the common good in relation to this question, what is AI for? We need to be clear about the common good. In what does the good consist? And how is it common? In classical metaphysics, such as that of Aristotle, taken up by St. Thomas, the good is what fulfills the nature of a being. Human beings are not like animals, driven by instinct alone. So this fulfillment of our good involves the exercise of our reason and will, making free choices. We can also identify basic elements of this good, since human beings have a spiritual, psychophysical nature that they share, even if these elements will be expressed concretely in very different ways in the specific circumstances of life of different people. So the common good, then, as opposed to the good of each one of us individually, the common good is the shared goal of the human community, fulfilling the life of that community in a way that is analogous to the fulfillment of each one of us in our good. Modern societies, however, take their lead from modern philosophical thinking, and this has largely abandoned the idea of any human nature that helps guide us in understanding what is good for us. Instead, they start from the freedom of will. Each of us can decide what we deem to be good for us. So this means that the goals of a good human life can only really be decided on the level of each individual. And this then empties the idea of the common good of most of its meaning. So when politicians today talk about the common good, they are usually referring to what we could call a procedural or an instrumental idea. The common good for them consists in all the systems we need, things like rule of law, infrastructure, government policy, and an economy that produces results, economic results, profits that can be distributed, and so on. And all these systems allow each one of us individually to achieve our own goals. Now, it goes without saying that this modern philosophical mindset has been a formative influence on the development of technology since the Industrial Revolution. It is also, therefore, a formative influence on the development of AI. So, how does AI fit into these two different ideas of the common good? If our goal, as it is in modernity, is to exercise free will with as few limitations as possible, then we might say that the goal of AI is to free us from the burden of having to think. AI could thus become a part of what, from a Thomistic point of view, we could call an illusory or procedural common good, providing another tool or system that we can use, but this time it will be achieving AI-defined goals that are only seemingly ours. Furthermore, research on the implications of AI for human flourishing suggests that, in its current form, it will create a number of other key problems for human development, which we'll talk about today in our webinar, not least in the areas of education and the world of work. And this is why much of the current discussions about AI focus on regulating it, with the idea of preventing it from damaging human well-being. If we are to confront the challenges of AI in relation to the common good, its richer Thomistic version gives us much more resources for doing so. Indeed, this is also so more generally, for the social and systemic problems we face today cannot be faced properly using the individualistic thinking of the modern mindset. We know now, for instance, that economic and political systems have to take into account the nature of the environment around them. Resolving such a problem requires us to find a way to harmonize the use of our freedom within the framework provided by the living world around us. In order to do this, the older Thomistic idea of the common good, with its strong position on the unity of human beings with each other and the natural world around them through their nature, helps us enormously. So could we identify the goal of AI, what AI is for, according to this richer view of the common good? Here, we might adopt a fortunate metaphor devised by Steve Jobs to describe the goal of the products he was developing at Apple. We could see AI, as he saw his products, as what he called a bicycle for the mind. In this view, AI would not think for human beings, but would rather create more favorable conditions for human beings to think. It would thereby support human beings in their efforts to achieve their good and fulfill their nature, both personally and communally. And I hope today that in this webinar, we'll explore some of this. And at the end, when we present our conference Communitas to you, we'll show you how we're going to go even further into this topic on May the 7th. So now I'm going to turn to presenting our first main speaker today, Gabor Ambrus. He is a research fellow in our Faculty of Social Sciences. He completed his PhD in systematic theology at the Catholic University of Leuven in Belgium 10 years ago now, 2014. From his doctoral studies onwards, he has dedicated many years to research in the fields of media studies and the philosophy and technology of media. Gabor's primary research interest is a theological philosophical interpretation of the human condition as defined by contemporary technology and science. And here I have a copy of his recent monograph, which he published with Bloomsbury, you can see here, under the title, From the Golem to Freedom, a study on technology and religion. So now I hand over to Gabor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sister Helen, very much for your introduction, and many thanks to all of you for attending this webinar today. I have been asked to present three key ideas for this webinar, so Let me first just briefly refer to these ideas before going into more detail. First, I will talk about the desirability of citizens' education and knowledge in the context of AI. Second, my second point is about the need for a broader and deeper view of the social and cultural dynamics of AI and around AI. And my third point will be, or third idea will be a short analysis of the problem of AI and the common good, whether it is a neutral association between two things or there is a possible dissociation or strong tendency towards dissociation between the two. But as a matter of fact, all key ideas, three ideas are about the problem of AI and the common good. So let me first say a few words about citizens' education and knowledge in the context of AI, which seems to me as a fundamental response, an initial and perhaps most fundamental response as a society to the challenges posed by AI. And the importance of education and knowledge in the context of AI can hardly be overestimated, I guess. And education and knowledge in this context have a double sense. So it can be education and knowledge on AI itself. So a positive meaning or connection between the two, education and knowledge on the one hand and AI on the other hand. And on the other hand, AI can also serve as a tool in citizens' education and knowledge. By the first sense of this connection, education and knowledge and AI is a positive sense. The other sense is a bit restrictive and negative because AI as a tool should be treated with caution when it comes to education and knowledge. So high schools, universities, and public media should be tasked with making pupils, students, and citizens as very informed as possible concerning the actual and potential challenges and opportunities of AI, and doing so with particular respect to their democratic citizenship. So, of course, this idea is deeply embedded in the Enlightenment project of education. I'm sure you are aware how important it was in 18th century thinking when the foundations of the Enlightenment were laid, that education must play a crucial part in citizenship or in citizens political life and political participation in the life of their country. And let me add to this, also add to this point that we can say that if education fails when it comes to AI, the whole Enlightenment project towards equality, freedom, and democracy might fail. So and it's also true that this project has already been in danger before the recent advances of AI. We can say that education and knowledge, courage of citizens has already been in a kind of dismal condition in the Western world. So this is a huge challenge democracy and faces in the context of AI. So on the other hand, AI must be tackled as a tool in education itself and somewhat restricted in this regard. So what particularly calls for AI's restriction and circumspect use in education and in the acquisition of knowledge is that AI has a looming potential to deteriorate these by turning into a primary source of knowledge, which sidelines all other sources and critical thinking itself. Let me also refer to a remark by Elon Musk which has to do with the looming possibility of, in our society, of treating AI as an oracle of truth in all matters. Musk made this remark on the desirability of AI as a truth-telling technology. While I think that this is an obscenity in the sense in which Musk meant it, it is nevertheless plausible to think that AI is destined to be part of the truth we can conceive of when it comes to the fate of the world and humanity. So now let me move to the second point of my presentation, which is about the need for a broader, both broader and deeper view of the cultural and social dynamics around AI. So we need this broader and deeper view, which is broader and deeper what we usually get from public discourse. Because the topics and issues presented in public discourse usually only concern the surface of these dynamics around AI. There are issues like the job market, inequalities, environmental and other sustainability, the fate of the creative industries as a consequence of the use of AI in these industries, and all these topics we well know from media and public discourse. But usually this discourse doesn't touch upon a deeper, what we can call a deeper tectonic shift or shifts in citizens' mentality and behavior itself. I don't want to give, and it's very difficult to give a comprehensive account of these shifts, these tectonic changes. So I'm going to name just one that is both a driving force behind AI and a severe consequence unfolding in the wake of AI. And this is big data and the accelerating process of datafication and everything, all effects that result from this process. I'm sure you know what datafication means. It's not a very complicated concept. It's about the increasing production of data, the process of datafying citizens and also society itself. So it's a accelerating process of producing data about social entities and human beings. So the effects of big data and datafication range from work habits and work culture to human relationships like those unfolding on social media and to creative and intellectual activities, including the publishing industry of the academia. As a whole, it can be claimed that there is, as a consequence of datafication, a shift, a deep and tectonic shift towards fragmentation in society and what we can term the frenzy of performance and intensified, increasing race or performance. So this is, I think, this is the frenzy of performance is the best term, most catching term to put it. There are other phenomena we can discuss in the course of this webinar. I won't go into details about these other phenomena like pattern recognition, moving from the field of technology and AI to human, the way human beings look at the world, and also AI as a black box, which involves processing, moving, as you can call it, moving in the dark, with various consequences in phenomena like conspiracy theories or real and fake conspiracies. I'm not going into details on these phenomena, but all these phenomena, big data, pattern recognition, black box phenomena can be viewed as part of this broader and deeper social and cultural dynamics around AI. So the third point and the third idea I want to talk about has to do with the relationship with AI and the common good, these two concepts. the problem of AI and the common good, this connection between these two concepts might not be a neutral association between two things, with the idea of the common good on the one hand applied to another case, a pivotal case like that of AI in this case on the other. So there might be a strong tendency towards dissociation between these two things. So let us be reminded of the fact that at the present time, the development of the most cutting-edge AI is in the hands of private corporations, which we have every reason to distrust given their history. Just think about how social media has been managed since early 2000s and all the scandals around it and the business model these companies have. So we have every reason to distrust these companies and the way they develop cutting-edge AI. And we can suspect them of complete disregard of the common good, or to say the least, we can suspect them of the vague assumption that the common good will simply follow from the pursuit of the particular and private interests of these companies. But of course, the AI and the development of AI, the development of cutting-edge AI is a global game, not only including private companies, but also world powers like the US and China. Nevertheless, the current political situation allows us to place as little trust in the US as in China to move the course of AI in the direction of the common good. At the same time, the European Union and its cooperation could catch up in the AI race, the global AI race, and the European Union could perhaps, in addition to the regulation and legislation it has already done, become an ideal testing ground for a good and positive, fruitful relationship between AI and the common good. You might ask, just let me add a quick note on the idea of dissociation between AI and the common good. It might strike you as an unusual and pessimistic idea, because you might ask, there might be, aren't there plenty of benefits for the common good to be expected from AI, like better medical care, better use of resources, economic prosperity? The thing is, these benefits are just not good enough for human happiness and the common good. These benefits only concern our physical welfare, which in advanced industrial society is already at a higher level than ever before in human history. Under this umbrella, we can also subsume the transhumanist promise of human immortality, which transhumanists assume to be achievable with the help of AI. But the truth is that human immortality, even if achievable by AI and possibly beneficial to the common good, is just not good enough for humanity and the common good. And it is conceivable that there can be a wholly miserable society made up of immortal humans. The prospects of the use of AI are not very promising. On the other hand, on the front of social and political inclusion, social and political integration and cohesion, which are more important factors in the common good than the increase of physical welfare or the human immortality as a transhumanist project. So there is, of course, much more to be said and discussed on this subject, but I'm going to stop here, giving the floor to my respondents.
Thank you very much, Gabor, and thank you for keeping so well to the time, which gives us the time we need for other people to speak, including the discussion at the end. So now I'm going to hand over to Miriam, Mary Brgles, who has been a very good and very active student with us in our faculty as a postdoctoral student. She was born in Zagreb in Croatia and holds a PhD in sociology from the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences in the University of Zagreb, Croatia. She was a visiting PhD researcher at the Department of Theatre, Film and Media Studies and the Faculty of Philological and Cultural Studies in the University of Vienna in Austria. Currently, she is an assistant professor at the Department of Sociology at the Catholic University of Croatia in Zagreb. Her research interests span qualitative and arts-based research methods, sociology of media, sociology of culture, and the interdisciplinary fields of sociology of vulnerability and Catholic social teaching. She received the Catholic University of Croatia's annual award for excellence in teaching for the academic year 2023-2024. She is the proud mother of 2 sons and an active member of her parish, as well as serving as a member of the Croatian Bishops' Conference Commission on Justice and Peace. Thank you very much, Miriam. Please give us your response.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. It's a great honor to have the opportunity to be here with you today and to be part of this important webinar. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our excellent speaker, Professor Ambrus, Gabor Ambrus, for his insightful presentation, and also to Sister Helen Alford for inviting me to participate in this event. Well, both of you have truly inspired us with your knowledge and passion for the topic. And as the focus is on AI and the common good, as well as 3 dimensions of their relationship, I will highlight only a few key points in my response. First of all, of course, knowledge and education about AI are relevant for citizens, and I think especially for young people who already learn and work with AI, but I believe we have to conduct extensive research on the application of AI in education system, both universities, but also schools. As a member of the Catholic University of Croatia research team on the subject, we decided that DBO model, which includes desires, beliefs, and opportunities, would be the best model to use for research. This model is based on analytic sociology approach, which connects individual micro actions with macro-structured social processes. So considering these 3 types of interactions, we can examine how individuals accept AI, how they apply it, and at least how expectations and what expectations they have regarding themselves and society. In that light, we could determine whether AI might correspond with individuals' desires and behaviors and provide an opportunity to build the common good and these 3 essential elements, which are respect for the individual, social well-being and group development, and of course, peace, which is the stability and security of a just order. Finally, by studying the AI in education through DBO model, we may determine whether AI is becoming an authority on knowledge in education, which would mean that technocratic paradigm became dominant in people's beliefs and behaviors. Now that we have raised the important questions for theologians, sociologists, anthropologists, pedagogues, and other experts in social sciences and humanities, we need to find an ethically acceptable answer for exiting this one-dimensional technocratic paradigm, as Pope Francis has named it in his encyclical letter Laudato Si. This, of course, directly links us to your 2nd and 3rd thesis. With good reason, I see you question the neutral connection between the common good and AI and warn the possibility of dissociation. A critical stance on technology that leads neither to benefit nor improvement, but to domination, was presented in Guardini's book named The End of the Modern World, at the beginning of millennium. We have here the Croatian translation. But according to another author, Jacques Ellul, technology is the new human space that has replaced the natural space. Ellul speaks of technological sacrality, and in our time, this sacrality is perhaps not entirely assumed by AI, but we notice that discourse around AI is something sacred, even is, as you have rightly noticed, relatively narrow and only conserve the surface of social and cultural dynamics of AI and around AI. AI is, as you also know, the subject of political and economic global games and struggles, thereby gaining additional power. And Pope Francis also states in Laudato Si encyclical letter, I will quote, "We have to accept that technological products are not neutral, for they create a framework which ends up conditioning lifestyles and shaping social possibilities along the lines dictated by interest of certain powerful groups. Decisions which may seem purely instrumental are in reality decisions about the kind of society we want to build." End of quote. Therefore, the direction of AI development should be complementary to the common good in order to avoid dominance of technocratic paradigm. As a concluding answer, I would offer again Ellul's ethical dimensions that were presented in my colleague's book, my colleague Odilon Singbo, in his book about transhumanistic anthropology. First dimension is non-power. That means that ethics of restriction in the name of dignity and well-being of human subject. It means that humans refuses to do what is capable of doing. The second dimension is freedom, which is manifested in the choice of increasing or decreasing the power of technological control. The third one is the ability, very interesting, to understand conflict as a value for humanity, since the computer excludes tension, dissensus, or negotiation. And the last one is transgression, which reduces technological content to useful means devoid of any meaning beyond that utility. I believe these dimensions should be included in decisions regarding the use and implementation or integration of AI. And of course, it is not a question of refusing to live in technological or AI environment, but of refusing to serve the sacredness of technology. And as my colleague Singbo, Odilon Singbo stated, returning technology where it belongs as means of fulfilling various life needs. AI thus remains merely a tool, which, if we apply these ethical dimensions, can serve to common good. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Miriam. So now we'll move to our second response, which is going to be given to us by Marcin Kawko, who is coordinator of a think tank of Caritas Poland, the Center for Analysis of Social Problems, which is part of Caritas Europe Working Group on Social Innovation. He's the creator of the Caritas Laudato Si project on integral ecology, counteracting consumerism through creating local communities of care. He's an economist interested in gift exchange, so the sharing of meaningful gifts, in Catholic social thought, business ethics, mission-driven business, social and civil economy and institutions. And he also was a student with us in our CREATE program on Catholic social teaching in Central and Eastern Europe. So thank you very much, Marcin. I hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Sister Helen, for invitation. I hope you can hear me well, all. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the invitation. Thanks, Gabor and Miriam, for your insightful analysis. I hope that my short 3 points will somehow relate to your remarks. So I'd like to talk about 3 points, which will be the first one. I would start with one kind of taboo that is not discussed enough yet in the public space, which is a new and very gaining attention problem by AI, which is pornography. Then I would move to the competitive advantage that we could gain as European Union using AI. And I would like to finish with a hope and chance for community building and volunteering. As Sister Helen mentioned, I work for Caritas Poland, and I deal with community building above all. So I would relate somehow in my first point to Manfred Spitzer, who's writing about the threat of AI and smartphones in general, especially for youth. Then to Shoshana Zuboff, that was already mentioned in questions and answers here by Sister Helen, and in general to volunteering questions led by some civil organizations like mine, Caritas as well. So first point that actually Gabor mentioned already is that education is not enough. It's never actually enough. We've been trying to raise awareness on integral ecology, even among basically Catholic communities, which was actually not enough. So we had to somehow switch. And I guess that with AI, it will be the same. There are some remarks, especially among enthusiasts of technology, that it's a great tool and it's enough so that our youth and kids are born in this world and they understand, and we just have to tell them the threats so that they could work on that by using it at the same time. But what Gabor insightfully mentioned is, and Shoshana Zuboff as well, are corporations. So actually, while education is obviously crucial, awareness alone is actually insufficient in the face of powerful global corporations shaping AI for their own interest. And that's the place where Europe and its rich history with institutions may play a key role. We have a long tradition of wise regulations to protect common good and all the values that actually European and Latin civilization is built on. So that's the chance for us to build a great kind of regulation, but at the same time, regulation is not enough, and we have to be somehow proactive so that we should proceed with the moves that actually, I guess, French people are most in front of. So creating our own AI tools and models. So if we want to actually maintain our intellectual autonomy and above all cultural autonomy, we must create AI that supports critical thinking and strengthens social bonds because, to put it directly, Americans won't do that. So that's the place where we should, what we should actually do to not to discourage reflection and isolate individuals, but to build communities. The second point is the threat of consumerist artificial intelligence, which is particularly threatening human relationships. So that's the point where I would put the whole pornography industry that is getting a lot of benefit, especially now in introducing some basic AI tools, which is obviously a profound risk to human relationships. I'm not sure if you are aware, but there are thousands or actually millions already of AI generated pieces of content which are rapidly detaching, especially young people and young men from real interactions, and that actually build and even enhance kind of loneliness pandemic. And it's extremely addictive, the consumption of this artificial kind of intimacy, and it weakens the ability of young men to form real relationships with long-term consequences for society and even political ones, what we can observe in some countries in Europe right now. So yeah, AI can cause the erosion of meaningful human connections. That's why we have to do something with that. It cannot, the answer here cannot be libertarian. And the third and last point from my side would be kind of a hope message, as that's the message of Pope Francis, to have, create, build, and establish hope for future, especially for youth, which are now in the crisis of widespread depression. They simply need hope. So hope should not only be delivered by all these measures with regulations and AI tools that we could develop aligned with community building and common good, but we should also perceive AI as a tool that may enable human and societal flourishing, if only we have in mind the principle of subsidiarity deeply rooted in Catholic social teaching, which means that we have to proactively shape AI for the benefit of communities. So my main hope here is that with the use of AI, we could automate repetitive tasks, which is the case seen now very widely with even as simple tools as ChatGPT. What could free up time for deeper intellectual, social, spiritual engagement, and we need volunteering very much, as for now we have lots of social problems and we have a really bad situation with volunteering numbers right now in Western civilization. We are kind of individualistic and egoistic part of the world. So it will actually not happen unless we consciously direct AI development towards the goals of subsidiarity and common good. So just to conclude, AI can be a powerful and useful tool, but only if we inspire people to act according to values and virtues instead of mere efficiency and profit. So I wish you and I wish all of us good luck with working on that, so that we could not be simply afraid, but also have hope and gain and use some competitive advantages that we could build on new AI regulation and tools. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcin. So now to all the participants in our webinar, let me say that I'll just hand over again to Gabor to give him the chance to give a little response to the responses to his talk. But I also want to encourage you to use the Q&A and send us some more questions. We already have quite a few questions which people have been sending in, but please do feel free to do that so that we can have an interesting discussion at the end. So you've got 5 minutes now to think about your question as Gabor's responding to the respondents. Thank you, Gabor.
Okay. Thank you, Sister Helen. Thank you, Miriam and Marcin, for your presentations, these thought-inspiring talks. Miriam, first, may I discuss a little bit Miriam's talk? Miriam has raised several interesting issues. The model she and her collaborators are using, the DBO model, she raised the issue of the danger of a technocratic paradigm in our treatment or to AI approach to AI, and the danger of the authority of AI as in education, AI as an authority in education. She also talked about the technological sacrality as a phenomenon pointed out by Elul. All these issues are very interesting, but I might have a question concerning the final note of Miriam's talk about the desirability of reducing AI to a tool, which is in bit of a contradiction with what Pope Francis said, quoted by Miriam, pointing out that AI and technology in general is no instrumentality. It's always more than AI tools and technological tools of modern technology in general are usually much more than instrumental tools, equipments or machines used for certain purposes. There is always much more at stake than mere instrumentality. So this is the question I wanted to pose to Miriam. I also have a question to Marcin. Marcin has also touched upon several important topics, like the pornography industry, the threat of AI, and various devices to the mental health of young people, the emphasis on the role of the European Union, and so on and so on. Yes. So what do you think, Marcin? Can the EU do more beyond the protection of its citizens? So can the mission and role of the EU reach beyond this kind of protective regulation? And yes, the other thing is that you say, Marcin, you say that AI should be used for repetitive tasks, and it's a very useful tool in tackling repetitive tasks. But I guess the main problem with contemporary AI is that it is much more than that. So just think about generative AI. You already use in the creative industry AI capable of generating images, text, music, and so on. So it's obviously it is much more than a merely repetitive AI. So I wish this would be true, that AI would be used in like the machinery of the industrial revolution, taking the burden of repetitive tasks for us. The problem is that the current AI is much more than that. So thanks so much for your consideration and answer, Miriam and Marcin, and thanks again for your talks.
Thank you, Gabor. So I'm a little bit torn now, because on the one hand, I could give Miriam and Marcin the chance to reply to these questions that Gabor raised, but I think actually I would rather, first of all, just voice some of the questions which have come in, and then leave it open. Maybe we can go to Miriam and Marcin and then come back to Gabor, but also keeping these other questions in mind if you would like to make some comments about them. I think the first one that I would pick up on is the person who said that I'm concerned that AI has been intended as an engine of total control based on the metaphysics of those who build AI. This is obviously someone who's doing something in philosophy, so that's interesting. But this idea that AI has been developed, whether it could have been developed in a good way, this is another question, but in practice, it has been developed in a rather negative way. And then other people have also talked about the connection between AI and making money. And isn't this connection just a bit too strong, you know? And can we really think about it as doing something for the good of society if it's really being promoted so much by very, very big multinational businesses that don't necessarily have the good of humanity at heart? So I think, you know, we had a lot of other questions. Maybe other people will send other questions in. We still have some time for you to write your question and send them in if you would like to. But I just wanted to insert those two questions, which I'm trying to summarize a number of different questions that came in by saying that. And first hand over to Miriam and then to Marcin, and then we'll come back to Gabor at the end. And then just before the end, I'll present the structure of the Communitas conference. Miriam, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Gabor. I'm aware of the contradiction, of course, but I was also trying to give some answers and raise, of course, questions about how we should shape with the common conditions and with the problems that are raised by the not only AI, but the whole technological development in our digital, as we call it, digital age, digital era. So my intention was also to present a bit what we are doing here at Catholic University of Croatia, because I think if we focus a bit to some to some special systems, societal system, as is educational system, then maybe we can get some answers which will show us the way we should try to propose some ethical frameworks for the further development or for some political decisions about not just restrictions, but also the ways the AI could serve the society and common good. I'm not sure if I have answered, but
that's great. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you also for your brevity, because we're coming towards the end now. So if we can try to have some brief but really interesting comments, that's fantastic. Thank you, Miriam. So Marcin, please go ahead.
Yeah, two short responses. First one will be to the last question posed by Sebastian in the question in Q&A. I guess that's the greatest summary of our meeting today, is that both church and Catholic social thought at all has a role above all of lighting the way. So just like Sebastian wrote, AI is only a tool. It's actually kind of a toy as for now. It's not that clever yet. I hope it will never become, but I'm afraid it will. Nevertheless, as for now, it's a toy for us, taking us somewhere blindly, and that's where both church, Catholic social thought, and actually European Union or Europe in general, if we only understand correctly Europe, may light this way and may show our values that we could follow, because it's precisely what we lack: authorities, values, virtues. That's what young people are looking for, and that's where lots of especially mental problems come from, because we lack these values and virtues that we could follow. So I hope church will step in and show that. And what could we do beyond regulation as European Union? That's precisely the same answer. First, show good examples and good practices. And second, my beloved social and solidarity economy. We are one of the best ones all over the world, and we have a huge sector in that. And European Union is, which is not obvious, doing quite great with Erasmus funds, European Solidarity, EFS, and so on. We have lots of good practices and funding, so I hope we will move into the direction of good practices.
Great. Thank you so much, Marcin, and thank you for making reference to this very nice question or comment that came in from Sebastian. So Gabor, please, your last comment.
Oh, thank you. I just want to thank Miriam and Marcin for the responses. At this stage of the conversation, I have nothing to add. Okay. So if there is any question there are so many questions, I cannot really follow them because I was so concentrated on what Marcin and Miriam had to say. So if you can highlight any question among those raised in the chat section.
Well, one of them was about AI becoming an instrument of total control.
Yeah.
And that
of course
touches some...
Yes. It's an interesting comment because of course, since Nietzsche, we know very well that there is a will to power as a metaphysics. It's a metaphysical view of human beings and nature in general. There is a force that is called the will to power, and you can interpret the whole arena of politics as a striving for domination, at least, even if not total domination. But I don't know what to say about this remark, except that AI as a tool for total domination is a very dangerous tool because, as I said, this is a kind of black box. So there are processes going on in the dark, if you can put it this way. And not even those who develop AI and do research on AI are in charge of AI research and AI development, do not exactly know beyond certain principles, apart from certain principles, what exactly going on within AI. So it's a black box. So I think if it can be used as a tool for total domination, it's a very dangerous tool. But I don't mean saying this. I don't mean that I believe it can develop into a sentient and autonomous being, but still it is a black box, as they put it, and it's very unpredictable which way it is going to develop. So this is my answer to this comment on AI as a possible tool for.
The other question, Gabor, that came up in different ways in several of the questions that we've received is this connection between AI and very big business. There's a comment about capitalism. There's a comment about the way it's being used like money to control people, this and that, and people are handing their lives over to something like this, like they can treat money as a kind of a god. So these sorts of issues, connection between AI and big business and capitalism, and I don't know whether you have any comments about that.
Yes, I mean, there is much that can be said about this connection between business and business and capitalism and business on the one hand and technology on the other. As you know, there is a term for our age, it is age of techno-capitalism. So technology and the business models and capitalism go hand in hand. But I think there is a danger to think about technology as a kind of puppet in the hands of business players or big capitalistic corporations. So technologies, as I said, through the example of AI as a black box, there is a kind of autonomy within technological development, which cannot be considered as completely by way of a puppet or a tool in the hands of businesses. So while it is very important to emphasize that our age is an age of techno-capitalism, so business models and intentions of business leaders do matter in AI and in various other fields of modern technology, contemporary technology. But I would like to emphasize the relative autonomy of the field of technology and the relative autonomy of technological development. So this is what I would like to add as a comment on this issue.
Okay. Okay, so we had some very good questions that you've handed in. Thank you to all our speakers. It just remains for me now to spend a couple of minutes talking about the upcoming Communitas conference. The idea of Communitas is to bring together the different faculties of the university. So we're talking about theology, philosophy, canon law, and social sciences, to talk about a topic of great importance for the church and the world and to advance our understanding. So this year, as you know, as we've been talking about today, it's on AI and the common good. In the morning, the first part of the conference will be a student panel. The students are the people who will start this conference going. And those of you who are students who are listening to us now in the webinar, please do think about proposing an idea for this student panel. We can have about 4 or 5 students in it, and it would be great to have students from across the world, from different states of life, giving different experiences or ideas about AI. Then we will move on to a woman who's a very interesting engineer who's developed a standard which is trying to bring in the values of the common good into the design process of technological systems such as AI systems. And so she will be talking about this as an example of how we can use engineering standards to try to guide the design process of engineering systems. Then we will start moving into the sessions which will be connected with the different faculties. So the first session will be from a philosopher, Gyula Klima, his name is. He's an important analytical philosopher from Fordham University. So we will have a philosophical session, and he will be talking about what is AI for, or what should it be for. After that, we will have some breakout sessions with different people in the university who are doing different things on AI, running small sessions so the students and the participants can choose which session they want to go to. After lunch, we will have Gabor talking about the spiritual theological life in relation to AI. How are the two things going to affect each other? That will be the theology session. Then we will have a session with the legal experts, And here we have one of the key figures who developed the EU AI Act, Paul Nemitz. He's coming from the European Commission to talk about the way the EU is developing its legal way of dealing with AI in relation to the common good. And then the last person who will speak is Alejo Sisson, who's a big expert on business and economic questions and the common good. And he will be talking about how can AI serve the common good through business. So we really hope that we can work through, exactly as Pope Francis was saying in that quote I gave you at the beginning from his speech on the common good and digital society. How can we develop an AI that really is inserted into a serious idea about the common good, is guided by that idea, and is promoting that idea? So please come and join us on May the 7th, when we'll say a lot more about this and really try to develop our thinking much more. Thanks to everybody for your participation. Thanks to the speakers, and thanks to all of you in the background who helped to make this webinar work. Many thanks, and hope to see you on May the 7th.